crisis right now in the heavyweight division of the UFC and the UFC in general. Tom Aspinall's career is in jeopardy. In a new video released on his channel, it was an interview with Andy Aspinall, his dad, and Andy seemed quite melancholy. Understandably, his son has just been injured in a world title fight that he's been waiting months for. However, there's been a vibe around the camp of Tom Aspinall since there's been talks of retirement. In the first video that he released only hours after losing, he detailed his video editor suggested the idea that if it was something serious, he may have to retire. Now, they brushed that off and they said, we'll have to see. But in the new video with Andy today, well, I can't believe it. It seemed like retirement was a possibility. There was mentions, so if you haven't watched the video, I'd recommend going and watching the video. But Andy details the most recent visit to the doctor whilst Tom's arrived back in the UK, and it doesn't seem to look good. Apparently he's still yet to do a CT scan or anything major, another major scan yet, but he saw an eye specialist yesterday as the video was recorded on Tuesday morning, and it seems that we're in trouble. Whether Tom even wants to fight again, we're at the point now where we really don't know. Everything is up in the air. It felt like on Saturday night, Tom's injured, but he'll be back, they'll rebook this. Now I'm not so sure. Now I feel like the whole Tom's legacy and Tom as a fighter is all at jeopardy. It feels like there's a lot of unknowns at the moment, and it's really scary. Especially as a UK MMA fan, we haven't exactly got much to hold on to. Tom's the saving grace, and without Tom, we're going to have to listen to John Jones going on for the rest of eternity. I would have kicked his ass. You know what John's always talking about, he's probably envisioning beating his wife again. I don't even want to think about that guy. But the main focus is the situation that we're in with Tom Aspinall right now. I watched the whole interview with Andy, and it just seemed like there was this air of, retirement, or something, a retirement, or at least a hiatus. Look, this isn't time to panic. I'm not sitting here saying that Tom's announced that he's going to retire. However, this eye injury seems to be more serious than we first anticipated. In the video, he details that Tom still cannot see entirely out of his left eye and can see a little bit out of the right. Now, that's not a great sign. If 3 days removed from the fight, apparently he can't see at all out of the eye that he had the patch over, whichever that is. I can't tell because the camera's always flipped. That's terrible. That is terrible news. 3 days removed, if he's still just as injured, that could suggest something a lot more sinister, which is terrifying to think. I don't really know what to think. I'm kind of, as you can tell, I'm kind of speechless. I watched the video and I was watching it whilst I was making my dinner, and I just don't know what to think anymore. It felt like Tom had this insane aura, and don't get me wrong, people kind of feel like he lost it in the fight against Cyril Gane, and the fight itself is a whole other topic at this point. Whether Tom is going to continue, it definitely seems like an unanswered question at the moment. I could not tell you the answer to that, and I feel like we've never really seen anything like this before. Obviously, it'd be a great guy to reference, a fellow Englishman, Michael Bisping, and a friend of Tom Aspinall. I've been listening to Bisping's podcast for years, and he had Tom on, when Tom was first putting together a win streak in the UFC and first getting that hype, Volkov sort of time, so good 3 years ago. I think that kind of is playing an impact, and of course it's going to, Tom's, I'm sure, made good money, a few million quid at this point, and I'm not saying that he's set up for life, but he's definitely got a nice amount of money, and you know, if he's smart with it, he probably is set up for life, you know. But if you know, is it worth it at this point? I guess is the question that it feels like is being suggested through Andy's comments. You know, Andy obviously always very nonchalant, you know, as he is, right? You know, we don't read all that. Don't read all that news shite. I just quit my job and look after me kids, and you know what Andy's like. I mean, he's the guy. You've got to love Andy Aspinall. He's such a level-headed guy, great father, and he keeps talking about, you know, my son's health. It's scary, man. It's scary times, you know, and it feels like God above is punishing us for some reason for Bisping not retiring when he lost his eye, you know. And I'm sure that image is ringing true in Tom's mind. You know, Michael Bisping obviously fought the second half of his career, the more successful half, with one eye. And I doubt Tom wants to do that, nor needs to, you know. Now, I think what adds to the kind of suspicion of this is the comments that were made by Andy in Fight Week, you know, about the 3 more fights on the contract and then transitioning over to boxing. I think that for everyone, that kind of raised a few red flags, even before the fight. You know, this is when we were all under the impression that Tom was going to steamroll Cyril. Obviously, that didn't happen. I mean, the fight itself was, you know, very good fight so far, back and forth. I mean, it was the first round, man, you know. There wasn't really a whole lot to comment on. Tom looked a bit unusual, but Andy said in the video that the whole plan was to go more rounds than one, not to just blast into blast through Cyril. He wanted to answer some questions about this cardio that he doesn't seem to have, that everyone talks about. But man, I'm just scared, man. I mean, what are we gonna do if Tom retires, which is a big if, don't get me wrong, you know, this is not a foregone conclusion, but if Tom retires, the UFC might as well just cut the heavyweight division. There's no need for it anymore. You know, what are we going to do? Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Hamdi for the title versus Volta Walker. I mean, to be fair, Hamdi just got cut this morning, but, you know, without Tom, there is literally no need for a heavyweight division. Nobody even wants to see it. You know, the only reason we like watching the heavyweight division is for Tom Aspinall, the man that's been blitzing through people with blisteringly fast punches. Bap, bap, bap. 1, 2, 3. You know, the way he took out Sergey Pavlovich on like a week and a half's notice. You know, he's the most exciting fighter on the roster. When he goes in there, you know somebody is getting flattened, and it's not going to be him. So I'm devastated. It feels like, I don't know what Tom Aspinall has done wrong to God, but it feels like he's tested him, man. He is testing him. Maybe it's that he's one of the strongest soldiers, because he is being tested to the limit. You know, after waiting all this time for John Jones, you know, the Curtis Blades injury, which, I mean, fair enough. Then coming back, beating Curtis in like a minute, legendary. Then we're waiting for this John Jones fight that never comes. John's a pussy, loves to beat his wife, won't fight anyone else. I don't want to hear any John Jones positivity out here. You know, he's talking about Alex Pereira. Bro, I hope Alex Pereira kicks his fucking head off, because he is a pussy, only fights guys who are smaller than him or who have disadvantages against him. I don't even want to think about that guy, but the bad luck that Tom Aspinall's had is actually, it's a generational run. It is a generational run of bad luck. It's like he's been cursed. It's like John Jones has gone and done some black magic on him, some juju. Because it's crazy, man. Like, I just can't believe it. Like, when I was watching the video, and I mean, look, don't get me wrong, nothing in the video said, you know, Tom's done. But in the first video, his editor Charlie, who was behind the camera, did say, you know, if it's something serious, you know, you might have to hang him up. Which is a crazy thing to say right after a fight, but emotions are flying, you know, I get it. 3 days later, I mean, it's Tuesday night as I'm recording this. According to Tom, he still can't see out of his eye. apparently it's all blurry and grey. I mean, that is not a good sign, is it? And you know, if you look at the eye poke, it's terrible. You know, it is terrible. You know, one of them goes over the eyelid and pushes right back, like into the socket, and it's horrible. And then the other one goes in the eyelid, and you know, I mean, that don't look any better. I'm not. You know, he said that both of them are not in great condition. He said that the eye, with the eye patch on it, he's basically completely blind in it, and the other one is blurry, but he can read still a little bit. I mean, it's crazy, man. It is so crazy. And like, you know, after Dana's comments the other day in the press conference saying, "Who the hell cares if it's accidental or intentional?" The guy doesn't like Tom Aspinall, and I think that's because Tom's not a slave. You know, Dana doesn't like. He likes fighters who take the 200 grand for getting their head punched in and they go home happy. You know, guys like Tom, you know, or even John in that sense. Like, John's gonna do what he wants to do. Alex Pereira is gonna do what he wants to do. Conor McGregor's gonna do what he wants to do. I mean, Dana absolutely loves John Jones and Conor McGregor, so they're not exactly the greatest examples. You know, Dana would walk a mile through glass just to suck a fart out of John Jones's arsehole. So that's not exactly a great example, but we all know the examples. You know, Dana doesn't like guys who have their own kind of contradicting opinions to the UFC and to what he believes. You know, guys like Aljamain, you know, always gets fed like a tough opponent, and Dana clearly doesn't like him. You know, and ever since Tom kind of got the belt, Dana's not seemed to like him. You know, it seems like he's taken out his hatred that he should be giving to John Jones for wasting his time. He's taking it out on Tom Aspinall. I mean, it's absolutely crazy, man. And like, I really don't know where to go from here. Like, if Tom is even considering retiring, you know, what are we gonna do? Give Cyril Gane the belt? The guy who just got his ass kicked off Volkov. Man, you know what I mean? Like, I was gonna make a video about the fight, and I will still make a video breaking down the fight, but I wanted to talk about this because it was breaking news, and I wanted to get a video out and discuss it with you guys. You know, this is the first video on the channel, but I just felt like it had to be rushed and it was urgent, hence the quite dirty setup. But I mean, you know, I want to know everyone else's thoughts, but I'll tell you something, if I have to watch Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Volta Walker, or Cyril Gane, as John Jones calls him, versus Alexander Volkov 100, or whichever fight it is at this point, number 3, or any of these fights, Mick Parkin versus Big Slugger Ante Delija, I mean, fucking hell. Can you actually think of anything worse? I bet the only guy who's happy about this is Ante Delija, because obviously Tom was referencing leaving the belt, relinquishing the title for his friend Ante, or obviously his main sparring partner. I bet he's secretly kind of buzzing inside, you know, knowing that maybe there's a chance that he gets a hold of the belt, you know, in 1 or 2 fights. But as of right now, man, like, we're cooked. We're cooked, and without Tom, the UFC is just not going to be the same, you know. Like, we've got, what stars have we got? We've got Ilya, we've got Pereira, I guess you could say Islam, but, you know, who wants to really watch Islam fight? He's not exactly an exciting fighter, is he? You know, we're cooked. Without Tom, I mean, I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think, and I'll sit here sipping my honey and lemon. And if I have to wake up in the morning and hear that Tom Aspinall's retired, or that Tom Aspinall's considering retiring, I might just go John Jones in this bitch. Lucky I don't have a wife, let's put it that way. But yeah, that's all I wanted to speak about. Welcome to the channel, Southpaw Stance, and I hope that you subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and there'll be another one coming tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Bye.